don't think you're what you seem. I admit to myself, if I hurt someone else, I'll never see just what we're meant to be. Every time I see you falling, get down on my knees and pray. I'm waiting for that final moment. You say the words that I can't say. Every time I see you falling, get down on my knees and pray. I'm waiting for that final moment. You say the words that I can't say. Every time I see you falling, get down on my knees and pray. I'm waiting for that final moment to say the words that I can't say. Every time I see you falling, get down on my knees and pray. I'm waiting for that final moment to say the words that I can't
Hello, family. How exciting. I mean, some of these shows are kind of nerve-wracking for me because I'm talking about, like, you know, things that could get me in big trouble, or things that could piss my friends and family off. You know, I've been dealing with a lot of hefty subjects, you know, Christmas and the January 6th deal and Donald Trump and all these kind of, like, I don't know, trepidatious discussions. This one, though, is not just fun, because I love conspiracy. Those of you guys that don't know this, when we started VOR, when my wife and I had this dream, you know, back in Denver, it wasn't to come out here and start you know, some sort of, like, even Christian virtual movement particularly. It was like, I'm a conspiracy theorist, and in my conspiracy, they're lying to us. The devil runs the show, and he's lying to us about God, and he's pulling off all these things to create this new world order. And, you know, this is what I've been passionate about. So I love and fear God and believe in the Bible, and I love conspiracy. And I am an absolute contrarian right down to the very core, to my marrow, right? And I don't believe them hardly at all. So this is the fun stuff for me. So I don't normally give you a like an outline on what to expect for the show, but this one is, I should be able to keep to script. We're going to do about 20 minutes on why just blindly trusting NASA is certainly, a level of faith, right? That atheists have faith, people who believe in science and in the media and, the version of history we were taught. Like, we all believe something. That's what I said in my last TikTok video. We all believe something. So at the end of this, if I make this point correctly, it's literally going to be, who do you believe about the moon landing? That's the point. And I have a discovery that it's my researching, looking in places that people wouldn't look for this kind of information, my bias to dispel or debunk the official story. I came up with something that nobody that I know of has ever talked about, and I don't want to oversell it because it's something that happened a long time ago. But if you've watched the TikTok videos that I make about the Apollo stuff, I get, obviously, the people jump in and they go, "This is ridiculous. How do you not believe it? This proof, this proof, this proof, this proof." And I'm going down the line like whack-a-mole, and I'm knocking down all these proofs, right? So what we're going to do is about 20 minutes of why I'm skeptical of NASA, just kind of a overview, 30,000-foot view. And then we're going to talk about what they consider, and by they I mean the scientific establishment, the official narrative, everybody who attacks me for my belief on this, what they say is their golden calf of why we went to the moon, their scientific proof of why we went to the moon. And this scientific proof is the retroreflectors that are put on the moon. And that's what we're going to cover tonight. So overview, and then I really need to get into the science of this retroreflector thing, because I did a deep dive into it. I've done, I don't know, 15 hours, 12 hours of research over the last few days on it, and really looking at this from all angles. And the thing that I found is really exciting. So if you watch the TikTok video that I made, I'll kind of cover them really quickly. I did the spacesuit conspiracy, which is basically that NASA has spent $200 billion and they can't make a spacesuit that would suffice in space and on the moon, right? They nailed it in the 60s, can't do it now. Technology's gone. They just, all the king's horses and all the king's men can't put this spacesuit situation back together again. So I covered that, right? And then I covered the ridiculous camera view of the Apollo lander leaving the moon and how they did that. What was the technology? And does it pass the smell test? So when I made that video, I did a couple lives, and I said in the lives, I titled them, "Prove to Me We Went to the Moon," or "Here's your chance to convince the certified conspiracy theorists that we went to the moon." And what I got back was, you can see the landing sites from the Earth. That's what I got back. You can see them with the telescope from the Earth. So I got this idea. I was going to crowdfund the certified conspiracy theorists going to the world's largest telescope to see this actual site, the landing sites, with my own eyeballs. And if I saw it, like, I know you guys trust me, like if I see it and I go, "Wow, look at that, they landed up there," we just like let it go. Yeah, we went to the moon. And I was going to crowdfund it, and I had a film guy that was going to help me with it. And then we started doing some research, and it turns out you can't see the Apollo landing site from the Earth with a telescope. But NASA has the lunar orbiter that can see it, right? So we can't see it with our eyeballs. I can't go to an observatory and see it. But don't worry, NASA's sending you the images of the satellite that they have that goes around the moon, and they see it, right? So again, you're trusting NASA. It always comes back to just trusting NASA, right? And I made the point, like, when you debate people about if God is real or not, one of the things that I know as an apologist that you can't say is, well, I know that God is real because the Bible says that God is real, because that's circular reasoning. Well, well, how did we go to the moon? How do we know? Because NASA said we went, right? It's the same logic. So again, it's about who you believe. So I'm going to play this video in the background while I discuss. I wonder if I can't show both. That's a bummer. Okay. So let me show you, in case you guys haven't seen this. Oh, if I haven't given you the outline well enough, 20 minutes of I don't trust NASA. I think I had to talk about it. 20 minutes of this laser, maybe 30 minutes of this laser idea. The laser idea, and then we'll close with that. So that's kind of what we can look at here. So if you've seen the I don't trust NASA stuff, I apologize. You've seen this material before. Cover it quickly. 30,000 foot view. So the first thing is the work that I did on the spacesuit. I'm not going to show the TikTok video. Oh, I guess the first thing is, look at this, showed up right there. Reason number 1 million, I don't trust NASA. You remember a few years ago, I don't know, about a decade ago, they got their first satellite to Pluto, right? They were like, at the point, it was like, is Pluto a planet? Is it not a planet? Who knows? They got out there and they're like really excited. Like, actually, go see if I can see the headlines. New detailed global mosaic of Pluto. This is 2018, the most accurate images of Pluto. They're really excited, right? They went and saw the planet Pluto for the first time. And this is the picture that they got. It's Pluto. The dog Pluto is on the planet Pluto. Who writes this? Who writes this? Who writes this? It's an important time for me to say I'm not a flat earther. I think it's a globe Earth. So if you're tuning into this for the first time, I'm a globe Earth guy. I don't know, though. I just like 80-20 that it's a globe. Who knows? But I think NASA's full of shit. So I'm a rarity today, which is I don't trust NASA, and I think the Earth is a globe. I try and stay in the middle with a lot of this stuff. So yeah, there's Pluto on Pluto, which is fun. Good stuff. Disney, NASA. Here's another one. This crater. This is from space.com, which is like NASA. Yeah, this is the creator of Mickey Mouse. So we got Mickey up there, we got Pluto up there, and you can make a pretty good argument that what if you research Werner von Braun and Walt Disney and how they were working together. I could actually look it up. Let's see if I can find it really quick. Werner von Braun, Walt Disney. Well, they shouldn't have been hanging out, right? They were. Just buds hanging out. Hey, Werner, what you doing later? I don't know. Walt, what you doing? I don't know. You want to hang out and stroke these rockets? Sure, I'll take a model airplane. It'll be a gay old time, right? It'll be a good time. So, whatever. Historical department from the U.S. the Space Agency, and whatever they were doing. So there's like a really kind of fun conspiracy that Disney, as part of their whole CIA, deep state, Freemasonic, whatever they were into exactly, with the like sexualizing children through animation and like that whole thing that he was doing, and being a 33-degree Freemason, Walt Disney was in the Order of Demolay, which is kind of one of the darker sects of that. There's this idea that they basically collabed and they go, cool, we've got this technology, and NASA we need to make it look like we're going to the moon. So, hey, let's get together. And NASA basically created the fiction version of space and the nonfiction version. The nonfiction version, working with NASA to create this imagery, and then the fiction version. They even bought Star Wars recently, but anyway, so space, like you got to understand, if you're going to control reality, you have to control all of the narratives, including the information about our history, the natural history stuff, space, what space is, when it happened. This is a big part, like the foundation stone of what I'm doing and trying to expose NASA, is that they are the gatekeeper of information as it relates to the construct of the universe, the origination of the universe, and the mechanism of the universe. right? So they have to control that narrative. We know how big it is. We know where everything is. We know there's aliens. We know there's not aliens, whatever. We write the narrative, right? These are the priests of the religion of science. So, I don't want to do that. Okay. So then this is fun here, which is that NASA has a new challenge to reach the moon by 2024. It's $1 billion spacesuit program. I said 200 million. I may have been wrong, but I've got the Inspector General report coming up here in a second. Despite working on these suits for years, they won't be ready until 2025 at the earliest. And we look at that report, and it basically says, see if we can zoom in a little bit here. This is the actual Inspector General. There's your scales. Interesting. I'm sure there's a bunch of symbology in there, whatever. Can I make this bigger? I can. Okay. Why we performed this audit. The development of new spacesuits is critical. I need to come back just a hair. There we go. To getting humans of NASA's goal. We got a huge goal to do the thing we did 50 years ago. If everything goes well, right? Let's see here. Exploring Mars, deep space locations. Currently, they're using EMUs, which are extravehicular, mobility units, right? EMUs. For the past 14 years, for the past 14 years, okay, and think about this. NASA did it the first time in like 5 years. Start to finish, or 7 years, Kennedy, we will go in this decade and do the other thing. And they did it in like 9 years with 60s tech, with these ladies that made the suit. I'll show you that video in a second. They've been trying to do this for the past 14 years. So from 14 years ago from now, and then let's see here, the XEMU will be used for the ISS and Artemis missions. We reported in 2017 that despite spending nearly $200 million on spacesuits over the past 9 years, the agency remained years away from having a flight-ready spacesuit. Since our 2017 report, they've spent an additional $220 million for a total of $420 million on spacesuits. This audit examined it. What we found, the current schedules to produce the first 2 flight-ready suits by November of 2024, but the agency faces significant challenges in meeting its goal. 20-month delay in delivery for the planned design, verification and testing suits, 2 qualification suits, blah, blah, blah. The funding shortfalls. That's only got a lot of money to me, but COVID-19, shocker. Let's see here. Technical challenges. No margin of delivery for the 2 ready suits. They would not be ready until April 2025 at the earliest. So wait, 14 years before, and then 5 years. So they're going to be working on these suits for 20 years. Moreover, by the time the 2 suits are ready, NASA will have spent over $1 billion. I mean, money is just funny anymore. That's like a Dr. Evil number, but it sounds like a lot of money anyways. Given these anticipated dates, late 2024, it's not feasible. So, yeah. So they're not going to go to the moon anytime soon. And they can't figure out this spacesuit thing, right? I made that video about it. It's on my TikTok. It's kind of funny. Just to show you, what they did in the 60s. You just got to get these girls on the line, man. They're still alive.
Fearless astronauts occurred to us.
That image, that black and white high contrast video of Neil Armstrong stepping down on the surface of the moon. People don't.
It still has to be sewn together by hand.
By incredibly scrupulous hand.
Cut and sewn and stitched together by women at Delaware's ILC Dover. Among them, Lily Elliott, Joe Thompson, and Ruth Ratledge.
Well, it had to be perfect.
There you go.
It had to be on time. We were very thrilled that we were helping a man go to the moon.
So, I mean, clearly, we know they don't make them like they used to. Literally. These girls understood they were on a timeline here. We had to get it perfect, and we had to get it done on time. As the president called us, and we had to do it. So we sewed the shit out of that thing. We sewed it right up. We did it. They're still alive. These are the sages of space suitery. They just need to call these ladies in. It's like, what? $1 billion in 20 years? Give me a sewing machine. Get out of the way, guys. I'm not doing the show laughing at my own jokes. I wouldn't do that. All right, so whatever. We need those women. So whatever, good stuff, right? That's fun. Hey, we're crazy. It's complicated, right? Space has changed. COVID, like climate change. These are real things, and you can't. I mean, the 60s were a different time, right? It's a different time. Okay, good stuff with that. So, I mean, just generally, I have a hard time imagining that NASA did it. So here's, I'm a subscriber to Occam's razor, right? I know I'm a conspiracy theorist, but I consider myself a conservative conspiracy theorist. And part of the reason is that, I pursue logic largely. And so basically when I look at this and I think about, what they were doing in the 60s and the kind of technology, whoa, this is the rockets they were building in the 60s. Okay. So if you believe the official narrative, and there's this really intense, ultra sovereign, national, global political thing in the space race and the Cold War and all this stuff, Russia was kicking our ass. They were up there. They had monkeys up there. They had women up there. They were just shooting Sputnik around, and they were doing crazy Russian stuff, which is funny. If you watch the Yuri, what's his name? The Russian cosmonaut, all of his footage is clay. It looks like it's stop motion. It's really bizarre. I get why flat earthers get super excited about this, but what this is going on, I would like it to be in the background, but this is flights that NASA was doing in the early 60s. So Kennedy's we got to go in this decade. We're going to go. And they're yeah, well, we're trying really hard to build these rockets, but this is hard. You know how hard it is to build a rocket that flies up? It's a bomb, a guided bomb into space. It's not easy, John. It's not easy, Jack. And they're killing us, right? So here's what I think happened. Here's what I think is possible. At that same time, we had huge advancements in the media and stop motion animation and special effects. 2001: A Space Odyssey was made at this exact time, and that's a it aged very well done technically movie. I think that they let's go with a non-sinister, just America's good, Russia's bad narrative. They're we're not going to go. Russia's going to beat us there. And what does that mean? America becomes Russia West, right? That's the problem. So we got to beat them somehow. I think we can fake it. I think that us faking it is a lot more realistic than us making it, because look at this shit. Look at what they're doing at this time. Is that an astronaut? What is that? I'll tell you what it is. It's a problem. And this is my son and I, we couldn't laugh hard enough at this stuff when we were watching it. Oh, let's see. This is 1959, right? This is, again, Russia's already in space, and this is what we have going technologically. Yeah, kind of went the other way with that, didn't we? Not good. This is the president. How is that going over there, NASA? Well, not good. We actually had a rocket fly down and explode. It didn't even get off the ground. It went down. I don't know how we even did that. This is 2015. That was a Falcon one, but we've got more in the 60s. Let's see here. I think this is another one from the 60s. 62, Centaur. If you guys, I could turn it up a little bit. I think there's good music for this.
For a maiden flight, it is to be boosted into space by an Atlas or a 15-minute flight. A flight scheduled to study the performance of the temperamental hydrogen fuel. The Centaur is designed to put a payload of more than a ton on the moon, or 1,000 pounds in the vicinity of Mars or Venus. The first few seconds of the shoot go without incident. The Centaur climbs to 30,000 feet, then malfunction.
Malfunction. Bada big boom. not a big boom, right? So I just don't. We weren't there. We weren't there technologically, and we were getting there not just from like an ability to execute the production of media, but the influence. They were just starting to understand how influential this would be. It's like, yeah, put a guy in a suit, have him look real dapper, and have him just bold-faced lie to you, and people will totally buy it. They just, what are they going to say? No? What are they going to write on the chat board? It doesn't matter. 1965. This is 4 years before they went to Apollo. Oh, dang. There's another one of those backwards rockets, man. Seriously, look at this. Look at how far away. They're like, we're going 4 years. Oh. And that is a big explosion. I mean, that blew up. All right. So, okay, I'm like thinking they're not going to do this. This is like they're thinking like it's not going to happen. Kennedy's like, this decade, what are we going to do? We got to go to the drawing board here. Probably Disney and Werner von Braun. They were actually drawing. So we got one more for the road. What's this one? Oh, 2013. That's more recent. That's not as much fun. The new ones aren't as much fun. So at the same time, and this is a crazy part of this conspiracy. And I wanted to do a short. I ended up doing the Tim Tebow one, but this part of the conspiracy is really wild to me. And it's that if they were going to fake this, they would have needed quite the Hollywood production. Okay. And Kubrick was making the world's most expensive film at the time that took twice as long as normal films take to make whatever film. And so they did it for 4 years, and they had total autonomy. Nobody could ask them what they were doing, and they had access to NASA. I've got footage of Arthur C. Clarke being like, we're here at NASA doing research for our movie 2001: A Space Odyssey. So this came out in 68. They filmed this from 64 to 68, okay? You saw that rocket blow up in 65, and then Apollo went to the moon in 69. And it just so happens that the world's most expensive and detailed and elaborate space weird movie, which is a really weird movie, by the way. You could totally do occult breakdowns on it, I'm sure, was being filmed at the same time with like a moon landing scene. Right, why not? Look at this. This is actually, where's the picture? There's a picture of them seeing the moon from the window. I was talking over it. Like, look at this, right? There's like the moon, and there's the little ship, and it's like cruising, and I think there's a picture of them seeing the moon from the window. I could be wrong. And they even have a moon landing scene. Like, how? This is where I say, like, I'm a subscriber to Occam's Razor. If they were making Ben-Hur at the time or whatever, I would have been like, yeah. But they weren't. Look at, there's the moon setting or the Earth setting or whatever. And Kubrick was a genius. I was researching this when I was going to do the short piece on this. And Kubrick, when he would do a scene, he would build a miniature of the scene. It doesn't matter what the scene would be. The monkey scene in 2001. And they would have the little figures, and he would have the lights to scale, and he would put the lights in all the places, and he would show where his cameras were going to be, and he would have his set crew build this mock-up, this scale version, and they would scale it up, and that's what they would film. The guy was an absolute genius, right? There's the Earth set. Whatever. You just believe what you want, but that's very. This is the kind of thing that makes me a conspiracy theorist. I've said this over and over with my format. Is the Bin Laden death, right? Bin Laden died, and they buried him at sea, and then they faked the pictures in the war room or whatever. And I mean, there's always these things, and I get that I'm looking for them, so I find them. But if I didn't find them, I would stop looking for them. That sounds like a Chinese proverb. So, including the laser thing that we're going to get into. Like, if I didn't find what I found in this dig, and I'm going to spend a few minutes on it, I think it's going to be a TikTok video. It might actually be like a 3 or 5 minute beat. I don't know. I'm trying to figure out how to do it. This is part of my dress rehearsal for how I'm going to formulate this. It's really interesting to take this stuff going on in my head and try to make it in a 60-second piece for TikTok. That's a challenge every time. But anyways, I want to get rid of this. So, do you guys think we should cover the telescope thing? No, I'm not going to cover the telescope thing. You can watch my TikTok video, but basically, you cannot see the Apollo landing sites from the Earth, and it doesn't matter if it's the Hubble telescope or the biggest telescope we have. You can't do it. So there's really only one way to prove this now. There's like the Buzz said he went, and sometimes he says he didn't go. He won't swear on the Bible and whatever. There's a technologic limitations of what they had in the 60s. There's all those kind of problems, whatever. But that people say the way we know we went was because of this laser situation. So if you don't know the laser thing, let's talk about the laser thing for a minute. We're gonna start with which way do I want to approach this? I'll pull up a video or a article on it. Close that. Close this. Proof we went to the moon. You can still bounce a laser off of it today. Right? This is in 2019. The American flag wasn't the only thing they left behind on the moon 50 years ago. One of the experiments taken to space was called the Lunar Laser Retroreflector, and it still works today. Though perhaps not as well as it did, just like it did in the 2010 episode of The Big Bang Theory. We will be looking at that because that's clearly a scientific, trusted publication. The idea behind it, we needed to accurately measure the distance between the Earth and the moon. When Buzz Aldrin left the moon lander, he said, the reflector module, blah, 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 blah. If it goes to the moon, comes back, we got a distance, right? That's this idea. So that's what people are talking about, how we prove it. This is the actual reflector. This is from Wikipedia, but you'll see in this other video that I show, this is the NASA approved picture. And I'm not the greatest Photoshop eye, but that's not a real picture. That's not a real picture. None of the lighting matches up. It's too stark. It's just not a real picture, whatever, in my opinion. It's just going to keep zooming in the more I do it. I don't know. Do you guys think that looks right? It doesn't look right to me. That doesn't pass the eyeball test to me. Okay, we can't look at that yet. Let's see here. The suits. Proof we made it to the moon. Okay, so now we're going to watch a couple videos. I want to show you how many eggs the scientific community is putting in this laser reflector basket. Because a lot of people question whether or not we went to the moon. Oh, actually, that's another thing I want to share. Including, I hear this a lot, that that if we didn't go to the moon, that... Where is it, please? Where is it? Bummer. I'll have to look it up really quick. That Russia and China would have been against it. Russia questions if we went to the moon. This is the last thing. I'm sorry. I'm just trying to do this off the top of my head. So 76%. Right, 76% of Russians refuse to believe that we went to the moon. This is from Russia Beyond. It's like a Russian publication. One of the world's best-known conspiracy theories, the Apollo moon landing was staged, remains very popular in Russia. You can't even imagine how much. So you hear, I hear this all the time on my feedback. Russia and China would say they didn't go to the moon. They would be fighting us, whatever. Maybe they are fighting us and it's American media. So whatever. They're not going to report that. Some Russians are even donating money in hopes of proving this theory. Right. So they just don't believe it particularly. And then there's other publications like half of Russia. This is Newsweek. U.S. moon landing was a hoax. Half of Russians believe. So half to 76%, whatever. Russia denying moon landing. Russia Space Agency promises to check whether U.S. moon landings really happened. Right. This is no matter how much negativity they want to blast us with, they just want to just say we're stupid and we can't, conspiracy theorists, whatever. There are people all around the world that still doubt this thing. And, obviously, if you say a lie loud enough and enough times, eventually people are going to believe it. But this is like I said at the beginning of this is the golden calf of the scientific establishment, bouncing these lights off of the moon, which makes sense, right? Because if you bounce a light off the moon and you see it come back, you go, wow, they did put something up there. So let's look at a couple. I think we'll start with Mythbusters. Yeah, let's start with Mythbusters. And I actually really clearly remember watching this episode because I was a conspiracy theorist when this came out in whatever year this was, 08 or 2010 or whatever. I was a conspiracy theorist then. I didn't think we went to the moon. And so I watched Mythbusters and I was like, oh, this is hinky. But let's watch. This is going to be 4 minutes, but we're going to see some of the vitriol, some of the anti-conspiracy theorist discrimination. We're going to see that they've proven it empirically with this laser thing. Okay, here we go.
There's time for just one final test. And not just any old test, but the ultimate proof of man's moon mission.
What's this?
A reflector.
In fact, it's called a retroreflector, made up of many tiny prisms just like this. And did you further know that the Apollo astronauts were nice enough when they visited the moon to leave several of these on the surface so that Earth-bound scientists could point lasers at it and gather information about the moon?
So what you're saying is that we get a really big laser and point it at the reflector on the moon, and if we get a signal back, that means that we were in fact there.
Precisely. Okay, it breaks down like this. A retroreflector bounces light back at the light source, regardless of the angle. This differs from a mirror where the angle of incidence has to be perpendicular. So, if there was a retroreflector on the moon, and we knew its exact location, and we had a powerful enough laser, we could detect the reflection and prove there is man-made equipment on the moon.
And prove it, right?
What are we supposed to be doing?
Technically, we're supposed to have a conversation about where we are.
Oh, you mean like the Apache Point Observatory? This thing right here is the Apache Point Observatory.
Okay, I don't want to...
What a view. And these guys have the tools that we need to put the final nail in the coffin on the moon landing hoax.
Okay, so final nail in the coffin, right? You get a lot of this kind of thing. You know, part of the reason why I'm so excited about this, and if somebody knows someone at whatever, unfortunately Netflix wouldn't cover it in History Channel because it's too... we've gone too far with censorship, but I want to have a conspiracy Mythbusters show. I'm science-minded. I want to look at the nature reality. This show we're doing right here is Conspiracy Mythbusters, influenced by Mythbusters, busting Mythbusters. I can't wait to get to the punchline on this thing. Okay, so proof, final nail in the coffin, right? There's still some life in this thing. It could crawl out of the coffin. This is the final nail in the coffin. So let's look at more of this kind of information. Ooh, actually, do I want to do Big Bang? Yeah, let's do Big Bang.
Hey guys, this is my friend Zach.
Hey. Hello. Whoa, is that the laser? It's bitchin'.
Yes, in 1917, when Albert Einstein established the theoretic foundation for the laser in his paper Zur Quanten Theorie der Strahlung, his fondest hope was that the resultant device be bitchin'.
Well, mission accomplished.
I'm actually going to tie Einstein into this later.
Let me explain what we're doing here. In 1969, the astronauts on Apollo 11 positioned reflectors on the surface of the moon, and we're going to shoot a laser off one of them and let the light bounce back into this photomultiplier.
Oh, that's very cool.
One question. How can you be sure it won't blow up?
The laser?
The moon.
See, now this is a man for penny.
That's a great question, Zach.
No, it's not.
Sheldon, play nice.
Well, it's not a great question. How could somebody possibly think we're going to blow up the moon? That's a great question.
Don't worry about the moon. We set our laser to stun.
Smart.
Now, we'll be able to see the beam when it leaves, but it won't be strong enough when it comes back to be seen by the naked eye.
Naked.
Right. Funny. That device there will measure the photons that return and let us see it on this computer. Raj, get them some glasses.
Cool, it's gonna be in 3D?
Preparing to fire laser at the moon.
Make it so.
There it is. There's the spike.
2.5 seconds for the light to return. That's the moon. We hit the moon.
That's your big experiment? All that for a line on the screen?
Yeah, but think about what this represents. The fact that we can do this is the only way of definitively proving that there are man-made objects on the moon, put there by a member of a species that only 60 years before had just invented the airplane.
Kevin, I thought the same thing. If there's no laugh track, I mean, it's awkward with the laugh track. I was thinking how bad that would be. But you see, whatever his name is, the kid from Roseanne, I forget his name, Lenny or something. He says that this is why this experiment is so important.
Yeah, but think about what this represents. The fact that we can do this is the only way of definitively proving that there are man-made objects on the moon, put there by a member of a species that only 60 years before had just invented the airplane.
Okay. I'm hoping, I think it's getting close to, I don't know how I'm going to do this in a minute on the TikTok thing, but we're getting close to showing how much validity this laser reflector situation has. What the last nail in the coffin. This is the only way to prove that we went to the moon. And there's other ramifications too. I'm actually going to go to the next video. It actually ties into the theory of relativity and a couple of huge other cornerstones of their scientific paradigm that they're in. Okay, this guy is shooting lasers at the moon.
Again, is Hildreth L. Walker Jr. I was responsible for the operation of the K-1500 laser that completed the first interplanetary laser ranging experiments.
Let's step back a little bit. I want to hear a little bit about your background leading up to the Apollo missions.
I was involved in lasers since 1964. Of course, working with CORAD Corporation, which was headed by the inventor of the laser, Ted Mayman.
I apologize, this is so quiet.
As the Apollo mission started to develop, people thought the laser beam might be very important to use as an experiment, so we could again get a better and more accurate measure for the true distance between the Earth and the moon.
Okay, so this guy Hal Walker worked with NASA, and according to him, he successfully accomplished the first laser reflection off of the reflectors in, I'm assuming 70 or 69, right after the Apollo mission.
For a kilometer, so you had to get pretty accurate to find the reflector.
Well, this is what to search for. Once we searched and using the returns that we were getting, we were able to narrow down the location.
Okay, so this proves that humans were on the surface of the moon.
I think Neil Armstrong mentioned that a couple of times in some of his talks. If anybody thinks that we didn't go to the moon, look at the laser reflector.
And is it still being used today?
It's still available to be used today, but about 3 or 4 years ago, after 40 years of being used, it's now that program has been shut down.
Awesome, and this wasn't the...
Okay, so now we're talking to NASA. If anyone thinks we didn't go to the moon, this is it. Okay, I know this is like really making this point, but this is, after researching this, people legitimately, this is the defining scientific experiment. So it's kind of ironic that they shut it down, right? It's there, but it's not there anymore. We had it, and then we lost it, right? That kind of thing again. A couple more clips from this guy, then we'll move on.
I was just elated. So I think it's something that you look for. So in other words, your dreams do come true if you work at the Walt.
That's awesome. Now, I don't know if anybody in the audience has seen this. There's an episode of a TV show called The Big Bang Theory, where they replicated this experiment, and they did it up on their rooftop. And my favorite line is, one of the guys asked, well, is it going to blow up? The laser? No. The moon. So you weren't worried about the moon blowing up?
No, we weren't worried about that.
But is this something that somebody could just do in their backyard or up on their rooftop and replicate this experiment?
No, not really. It's a little more complicated than that. I think
Nope, you can't. No, you can't do it. You don't have the technology. You don't have the technology to disprove what we're saying. We're the priests, and if you don't offer up your children to Molech or whatever, the sun is going to go away, solar eclipse, and you'll see that you've pissed off the sun god. You can't question us. so many people in my TikTok feedback, vehement anti-Luke feedback was, you could do this at home. You can shoot a laser at home. You can shoot a telescope at home. You're stupid, right? No, you can't. You can't shoot a telescope. Only they can shoot a telescope. Only they can use a telescope to get the actual landing site. And only they can shoot the lasers to prove that the retroreflectors are there. You can see the problem, right? I hope you can see the problem. And this is why I don't back down from these discussions. It's literally, who do you trust? Who do you trust? Do you trust NASA? Do you trust your gut? Do you trust the Bible? Who do you trust? Because you're going to have to believe somebody, right? That was loud. Something fell out of my pocket. Check this out.
Number one, we recognize to be able to put a light beam on the moon has to be a pretty powerful source. But what we can do is hopefully the reflectors will be there in the future, and observatories around to your communities and so forth may be able to integrate lasers into those systems and still use them.
Awesome, awesome. Well, you've done some pretty incredible work since you've worked on it.
So yeah, you can't do it on your own. He said in here somewhere, I thought it was right there, it was 1.25 gigawatts. Let me see if I can get that clip.
Today?
It's still available to be used today, but
you say mirror, is it? It's not.
Get all of the total light to come back toward us.
Okay, so it allows it.
Yeah, slightly different than a mirror itself. Yeah.
Can't really fix your hair.
No, can't fix your hair. Can we ever get there? I was just.
We're worried about the moon.
Anyways, whatever.
Powerful source. But what we
did he say it right there?
It's a little more complicated than that.
Sorry.
I think number one, we recognize to be able to put a light beam on the moon has to be a pretty powerful source. But what we can do is hopefully.
Yeah, no. I thought he was talking about how big it is, but I guess it's the Mythbusters guys later. Okay, so a couple more clips. I know that I'm stringing this thing out, and I apologize, but there's one more video I want to look at before we get to the discovery that I've made or the research that I've found, and it's this. Why can't we see? Is it this one here? No, powerful laser beam has helped. Yep, this one here. When I found this, as they were talking about it, it's a really nice, end of CBS broadcast clip about, again, how, we went to the moon and we can tell you, but only we can tell you. And this is the actual telescope. You can actually see the size of the telescope that they're using here. But what this lady says is so crazy about how profound these reflectors are.
This summer will mark the 50th anniversary of NASA's Apollo 11 mission, when Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin became the first human beings ever to set foot on the moon.
So much propaganda
Armstrong
about
famously
this.
planted an American flag in the moon's soil, but the stars and stripes weren't the only important cargo the astronauts left behind. Harry Smith has our Sunday closer.
Sunsets in New Mexico.
Don't you think that there's an egregious amount of propaganda supporting this? We totally win. It was 50 years ago. We totally win. Don't question
us. Up in the mountains down near Alamogordo, the big telescope at Apache Point Observatory starts to swing into action. And once it gets dark, watch out. A powerful laser beam shoots into the sky, aimed at the moon. Pew, pew, pew! The reason? Thank the folks who walked up there.
I was strolling on the moon one day.
Along with picking up rocks and planting flags and hitting golf balls, they left a few things behind.
Laser reflector is installed.
That right there, about
There's
the
that
size of a
Photoshop one.
laptop, is a reflector, which a laser beam is hitting tonight. Pew, pew! Dr. Russet McMillan is an astronomer here and operates the laser.
We use it to measure the distance to the moon by measuring the amount of time it takes light to travel to the moon and come back. We can measure the distance to an accuracy as good as a millimeter.
A millimeter?
A millimeter.
And that helps us understand gravity, which holds a lot of stuff together, including and especially Einstein's theory of relativity.
We're testing to see how accurate Einstein's predictions are. If we find that they weren't perfect, that could have major implications for the foundational nature of the universe.
Just the foundational.
Some of you guys were on the TikTok live the other day when I said something about how my concerns about the validity of the Einsteinian paradigm are waning or something. I had some way to explain it. So this is my problem with NASA is, you know, Einstein and NASA are working together to bring you your reality. NASA, Disney, the moon landing. This is why you believe what you believe about your reality. You wouldn't think that the theory of evolution, the millions, billions of years old, the universe, you know, what you're doing here, why you're sick, who you need to, like, you wouldn't think that all of these things are wrapped up into this. Did anybody assume, as I was pulling up clips of the Big Bang Theory and that dude talking about it in Mythbusters, that this scientist lady was going to say that this is very important because with our instrumentation and our technology, we can prove what this universe is. We can prove how the universe got here, and you can't question us. They are the priests of the religion of science. I wore the wrong shirt tonight. I should have worn my priests of the religion of science shirt. This was the night for that shirt. Let's hear that again.
And that helps us understand gravity, which holds a lot of stuff together, including and especially Einstein's theory of relativity.
We're testing to see how accurate Einstein's predictions are. If we find that they weren't perfect, that could have major implications for the foundational nature of the universe.
Just the foundational nature of the universe, just that. It's heavy stuff, I know. Amazing that 3 U.S. lunar landing missions left reflectors on the moon.
Can you guys see how all tied in this is, how this all works together? This is why I'm critical of flat Earth, because, you know, if the Earth is a globe and we say it's flat, which I don't think it is, we're marginalized for being intelligent design proponents. Okay, if you don't believe that, I can show that a little bit later maybe, but actually, no, I will show it right now. I'm going all over the place because this is what I do. Thank you guys for being here and putting up with my ADD brain, but this is
covered by 1 pixel smaller camera lens. Those of the American. So now we have the photographic evidence of the Apollo landers. Unless, of course, you don't believe anything official that comes out of NASA, and that they were placed there by robotic landers or aliens years later, or that the moon is a hologram and the Earth is flat. Thanks for watching, and
Can you see the problem? Okay. NASA's lying. I've said this on my show for months now. NASA's lying. You can't trust what they're saying. They're lying to you about the very nature of this reality, who you are, how you got here, who made this, what the point is, everything, when, how, everything. That doesn't mean the Earth is flat particularly. And just know that if you, the validity of the thing that we're talking about tonight can absolutely be dispelled if you're like, you know, like this guy, you're going to question NASA? What are you, a flat earther? This is why I say flat Earth is a psyop. Whatever. Sorry about doing that. But this thing that I'm talking about, a guy commented, and I'm replying to the video. This is disinformation, and you're an idiot. You don't understand science. There's a laser reflector on the moon, and you're being disingenuous or whatever he said. And my response so far to him is, thank you for asking this question, because I think we might have debunked the entire thing, because I had to look into this. Like, don't put the bulldog on it. I don't know. Careful. Put me on this thing. Okay. I'm going to go back to the Mythbusters thing, and then I'm going to give the punchline here. It's going to be in the next 7 minutes. I'm going to show you the evidence that I found. But we're going to go back to the Mythbusters thing just to finish this. And what I want you to see with the Mythbusters thing, I want you to see the amount of light coming back, right? They shoot the laser up, it hits the reflector, it comes back. What is this magic piece of evidence that proves that NASA is trustworthy on the nature of reality?
Yep, up here in the Sacramento Mountains,
Same
New
place.
Mexico. Adam and Jamie meet one of the observatory's
This is like
top
her
docs,
mom or her
Russell
aunt or something.
How can I help you today?
It's the same girl.
It seems that there are some people that do not believe that man has actually been to the moon.
I've met some of them.
What do you think?
I think they're crazy.
A bold statement.
Oh, that's
but
nice.
Dr. McMillan
Let's
has,
throw that in
has
there.
actually been to the moon.
Listen to this.
How can I help you today?
Somebody in the world has the audacity to question these people.
It seems that there are some people that do not believe that man has actually been to the moon.
I've met some of them.
What do you think?
I think they're crazy.
A bold statement, but Dr. McMillan has the hardware to back it up.
Here's the thing. This little laser pointer is about 10 milliwatts. That's great, but it's not going to make it to the moon and back. That thing, however, peaks at 1 gigawatt. That's 100 billion times more powerful than this is. That's what you got to have to make it to the moon and back.
This is actually not a bad imitation of exactly.
I just confirmed that's the same lady from the other movie, or from the other piece I just showed. She's just obviously aged and has shorter hair. McMillan, Dr. McMillan. I didn't know that earlier. Same person.
What's on the moon that we're shining the laser into. In fact, the specific one we're shining into.
Which means that she says that people who question the moon landing are crazy. And she also says that if these reflectors aren't on the moon, everything we know about the reality is going to be questioned. So that we need to trust her blindly.
It was left there by the Apollo 15 crew. Now, we're firing on the order of 200 quadrillion photons per laser pulse at that reflector. And we're getting between 1 and 3 photons back per pulse if we're lucky. When we get...
Did you hear that? This is the start of the point that we're making. We're going to play that again. It's actually like 200 gigawatts. I have the clip of Back to the Future going 1.5 gigawatts. It's kind of like on that same magnitude. Listen to this.
Trillion photons per laser pulse on the moon shining into was left there by the Apollo 15 crew.
This is why you can't do this in your backyard. This is the kind of technology you have to have access to.
Now, we're firing on the order of 200 quadrillion photons per laser pulse.
200 quadrillion photons. Okay, if you understand photons, photons are little packets of information, little balls of energy. Okay, this is where the double slit experiment comes in. Is it a wave? Is it a photon? These are photons. 200 quadrillion photons. They fire up in these pulses. And guess how many come back?
At that reflector. And we're getting between 1 and 3 photons back per pulse if we're lucky.
If we're lucky. Okay, so let's talk about the odds of that. 200 quadrillion. If they're lucky, 1 or 2 photon comes back, which means the little packet of energy makes it to the moon, hits the thing, flies back, right? That's your proof that Einstein was right and everything you know, and you have to trust him no matter what.
When we get that photon back, we'll see a spike.
When, right? There's your bias.
Spike like that on the
You're going to see a spike, and that was a spike they talked about with the Big Bang Theory, right? Oh, you see a line on a thing, that's it?
I am slewing the telescope to the lunar highlands.
Slew away.
Regolith with its
Apollo 15.
Here it is. Okay. So what they will see, they're going to shoot the laser out, 200 quadrillion photons. And if it hits the reflector, when it hits the reflector, what happened? Oh, I think I'm back. We okay?
Sorry.
Wait, am I back?
It looks like it. Yeah, you're back.
Wait. I think I'm back. Can somebody say that I'm back or not? That'd be weird if I got shut down for this. Am I being watched? Is that you, NASA? I've uncovered some weird conspiracies, you guys. Whatever. I made the decision a long time ago that. Okay. So this one, I'm telling you, I was having this discussion with my skeptic, I can't even go into what he does, friend, but we have hour-long discussions about this, and I told him, I said, I've won this thing. Okay, glad to be back. It's good to be back. I don't know where you guys lost me. How far did we go back? Okay. Did you see the quadrillion? Did you guys see that whole thing? How much they're going to launch out? How many photons they're going to shoot out? Did we cover that? How long have I been gone? I can't tell when I left, but that's wild. Yeah. Okay. All right. Hey guys, welcome back. Can somebody tell me where I left off so I don't go back redundantly? Lady being the same lady. Okay, cool. Cool. Thanks, guys. Here we go. God is good. Okay. So this is the lady, right?
I've met some of them.
Let's do this again.
What do you think? I think they're crazy.
A bold
Right, so we
statement,
saw
but
that, right?
Dr. McMillan has the hardware to back it up.
Here's the thing. This little laser pointer is about 10 milliwatts. That's great, but it's not going to make it to the moon and back. That thing, however, peaks at 1 gigawatt. That's 100 billion times. Peaks at 1 gigawatt.
Okay. We're going to have fun with this. Okay.
Laser pointer is about 10 milliwatts. That's great, but it's not going to make it to the moon and back. That thing, however, peaks at 1 gigawatt.
Did you hear what that peaks at? I wish I had a better way to do this, but it peaks at 1 gigawatt.
The 1.21 gigawatts of electricity. 1.21 gigawatts! 1.21 gigawatts! Great Scott!
It's the same gigawatt. All right, well, whatever. That's a good time. That is a good time. Okay. Oh boy, I had to do that for myself. Sorry. It'll be better on the YouTube or the TikTok
This little
edit.
laser pointer is about 10 milliwatts. That's great, but it's not going to make it to the moon and back. That thing, however, peaks at 1 gigawatt. That's 100 billion times more powerful than this is. That's what you got to have to make it to the moon and back.
Great Scott!
This is actually not a bad imitation of exactly what's on the moon that we're shining the laser into. In fact, the specific one we're shining into was left there by the Apollo 15 crew. Now, we're firing on the order of 200 quadrillion photons per laser pulse at that reflector, and we're getting between 1 and 3 photons back per pulse if we're lucky.
Okay, so that's why I had to show this again. This is the math. This is where we get into quantifying this thing. They're shooting 200 quadrillion photons. I don't know if you guys heard me say this before, but a light can travel in a wave or it can travel in a photon or whatever. That's the double slit experiment. But photons are little balls of energy. They shoot 200 quadrillion photons at the moon. Okay. And if they're lucky, 1 photon would return per pulse, right? Are you getting the math on this thing?
Left there by the Apollo 15 crew. Now, we're firing on the order of 200 quadrillion photons per laser pulse at that.
Wow. I don't know. Maybe it is. Okay.
Did you play this again?
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe stop playing this video. That's what I thought, is maybe it's the video he played. I didn't think in a million years he'd play it again.
It's Mythbusters. It's
okay.
Okay. Yeah.
Move on.
Let me know if I'm back on.
Stream unavailable. Stream suspended for policy violations. Can you exit out of this? Are you still showing this as a split screen?
Let me know if I come back on.
TikTok doesn't tell you this? Oh, there you were.
Am I back on?
Mm-hmm.
Well, welcome back. They've successfully deflated my energy on this whole thing. All right, I guess I get to pantomime this out. Not going to show that Mythbusters clip, which was uploaded by a person named Lunar Tuner. It's got 700,000 views, and apparently I can't play it, which really sucks. So I guess I'm going to have to shift here. Huh. It's a bummer. We had a lot of momentum going. Thanks, YouTube. Thanks, Big Brother. Let me see if I can find an article supporting this. Laser pulse. Reflector. Need to find something to show you guys this because I'm obviously not able to do that with that. So, okay, we're gonna look at the. We're gonna do this together. Really sucks that that's happening. I'm not sure why, but hey, at least we're being watched. That's good. No Earth can see this. Blah blah blah. When the moon. Oh, that's not the right one. Did that just go away too? That's fun. I'll share it this way. Sorry, guys. Just stick with me, though. I was still going to make my point here in a minute. I think we have a pretty good foundation that they put a lot of eggs in this basket. I'm just trying to show you what they do. They send out 200 quadrillion photons, and they get one back. Okay. Let's see here. 2020, 2.5 seconds. Distance changes, moon surface, blah, 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 blah. Okay. Yeah, I've lost all my excitement about it, but we're going to go ahead and just, I'll show you basically what it is. Okay. So thank you for dealing with that. Live television. I don't know when and if we'll ever have the autonomy to say the things that I want to say. I thought this was safe. And here we go. Okay. Okay, this is Time Magazine. A space traveler who happened to be standing on the dark side of the moon last week in the mountain southeast of the crater blah, 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 would have been startled to see 13 brief red flashes flame up on the dark side of the distant Earth. The unexpected spurts of lights marked the position of Lincoln Laboratory in Lexington, Massachusetts. They came from a ruby laser, a source of pure light of a single frequency fitted into a 12-inch telescope. Since laser light can be concentrated into a thin beam that barely spreads out at all, Professor Luis Smulin and Dr. Giorgio Fiocco, the MIT engineers who performed the experiment, estimate that the laser's light diverged only about 2/3 of an inch for each mile of its 250,000-mile journey to the moon. When it reached the moon's mountains, the laser beam lighted faintly a circular area only 2 miles in diameter. Smulin and Fiocco estimate that each of its 1/2000th of a second flash squirted 2 times 10 to the 21st power, which is 200 billion trillion photons of light, which we're into that same 200 quadrillion range, right? 200 quadrillion-ish photons of light toward the moon. Most of these tiny bits of light got there, but those reflected by the moon's rough, dark surfaces scattered widely. Only a few of them bounced back to Lincoln Lab, bunched together by a 40-inch telescope. The returning photons were sent through a filter that passed only light of the laser's wavelength. Then the photons were picked up by a sensitive photocell. The engineers figure that only a dozen photons from each flash completed the round trip, but they arrived after the proper time interval, about 2.5 seconds, which proved that they had actually gone to the moon and back. This was the first time a segment of space had been spanned by laser light. Okay. I don't know how much you got to see of the Mythbusters show, but Adam Savage explained that 200 quadrillion photons make it to the moon, and if they get 1 photon back, they're lucky, right? And this is the proof that they went to the moon. And I was going to run the clip that said, this is proof we went to the moon. Here's the problem. This article that I just read, It's from May 18th, 1962. Which means 7 years before the astronauts put the Photoshop reflectors on the moon. Scientists Smulin and Giorgio Fiocco shot lasers, 200 quadrillion lasers, photons of light towards the moon. Most of the bits got there, some reflected by the moon's rough, dark surface, scattered widely. Only a few bounced back. Bunched together by a filter, the returning photons were sent and passed through the wavelength, which shows that's exactly the bar from the Mythbusters thing. It's exactly the bar from the Big Bang episode. The engineers figured that only a dozen photons from each flash completed the round trip. You realize what this means, right? The moon is a reflector. This is where I got this idea from the beginning. The reason why I doubted this is because the reason we have moonlight on the Earth is because sunlight hits the moon and bounces off the moon and then comes back to the Earth. Okay. Moon's a sphere, sun hits it, it deflects, it reflects, and it refracts and comes over here. Which means that you can shoot a laser, a super powerful mega laser, at the moon and get it to return back because it's a reflector. You don't have to have a piece of man-made machinery to do this. And we know this because they did it in 1962. It's all fucking propaganda. It's all lies. It's all propaganda. Excuse my language. I could go back and watch all those if I wasn't getting banned, but Big Bang, NASA scientist, Mythbusters, CBS, the proof that we have, the final nail in the coffin, the way that we can prove this empirically is by shooting this laser and bouncing it off the moon, which is a reflector, and you can do it without the NASA Apollo mission. And they did, and they did. So who do you believe? That's it. Who do you believe? Who do you believe? Apparently, the scientist at Los Alamos Super Telescope says that if you doubt them, you're stupid. And she also says that this proves that Einstein was right about your reality. So everything you know about your reality could be wrong. Because there's science sucks. Well, if anybody made it through the broadcast, there you go. Thanks, YouTube. I'm not tilted. That's not what's going on. I'm good. I made the point. I can't make the point that I made, but I made the point, so I'm done. I'm going to go to TikTok. Hopefully we can keep that going there. Maybe I can answer some questions there. I appreciate you guys being here. I hope to see you next time, which would be Thursday. See how that goes. Keep fighting, you guys. Love you. End transmission.